Chapter 1. Nebuchadnezzar besieges Jerusalem with his army. He takes back all the young men with no defects back with him to Babylon. They are assigned food from the king's table. Daniel and his friends prefer to eat vegetables, while the advisor is concerned that they will grow sickly. He offers up a challenge where after 10 days they will compare themselves to the other young men, and they are proven to be healthier and strong. God grants Daniel wisdom. Nebuchadnezzar has dreams, and he demands his astrologers both tell him the dream and interpret it. The astrologers then say that this is impossible. They can't, so he orders them to die. When the guards come for Daniel, he asks for time. He then prays to God, and the answer is provided for him. He tells Nebuchadnezzar that no wise man could, but God could. The dream is this: the statue has a head of gold, a chest of silver, belly of bronze, and legs of iron. A divine rock destroys it and becomes a great mountain. Gold represents the kingdom of Babylon. Silver represents Persia. Bronze represents the Greek Empire of Alexander. And the iron/clay represents Rome. The rock represents God's eternal kingdom, destroying these kingdoms and becoming God's heavenly kingdom. Nebuchadnezzar rewards Daniel. Nebuchadnezzar makes a large gold statue and then proclaims that everyone must worship it when instruments are played. If they don't, they'll be thrown into the blazing furnace. The instruments are played and everyone bows down to worship it, except for Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who are betrayed by jealous courtiers. Nebuchadnezzar is furious, but offers them one last chance to worship the statue. They refuse, and he orders them thrown into the furnace. The fire is so hot the guard dies, and Nebuchadnezzar sees another man inside the furnace with the others. He orders them out and finds they are completely fine. Chapter 4 is a proclamation from Nebuchadnezzar to his people. He had a dream in which he saw a large tree that he cut down and left the stump and bound it with iron. He asks Daniel to help interpret it for him, and he reveals that Nebuchadnezzar is the stump. He will be driven away from people and live like an animal, and he'll eat grass until he repents to God. 12 months later, he is walking on his roof when he boasts about his own greatness. God then makes good on his vision, and he is driven away like a beast until he repents 7 years later. He is then restored to power. In chapter 5, Belshazzar is having a banquet and uses the goblets taken from Jerusalem as they praise their idols. A hand appears and writes on the wall, terrifying Belshazzar. He asks his diviners to interpret and offers an award of being the third in charge. They fail, and the king summons Daniel at the queen's behest. Daniel chastises him and says that Belshazzar has yet to humble himself to God like Nebuchadnezzar did. Daniel interprets the words as God numbering the days of his reign, weighing him on the scales and finding him wanting, and dividing his kingdom and giving it to the Medes and Persians. Daniel is made third in command, and Belshazzar is killed by Darius that same night. Chapter 6, Darius appoints Daniel over every other satrap. And jealous, the other administrators tell Darius to set a law where anyone who worships something other than Darius should be thrown into the lion's den and put in writing so it can't be repealed. They then reveal to Darius that Daniel has not been following this law. Heartbroken, Darius is forced to comply with the law and throws Daniel into the lion's den, hoping God will save him. The next morning, Darius rushes out and finds Daniel to still be alive. Darius praises God and sends the jealous administrators to die in the lion's den. In chapter 7, 4 beasts come from the sea, the first like a lion with wings of an eagle, made to stand on 2 legs with the mind of a human. The second beast looked like a bear and had 3 ribs in its mouth between its teeth and was raised up on one side. And the third beast was like a leopard with 4 wings and 4 heads. The fourth beast was powerful with iron teeth and 10 horns. A little horn rose up and subdued 3 other horns. Each beast was a kingdom and each horn a king. In chapter 8, Daniel sees a ram with 2 horns, one larger than the other. It is then killed by a goat from the west, whose horn splits into 4 smaller horns. The ram represents Media and Persia, and the goat represents Greece and the horn its king. And the 4 horns the successor kingdoms. In chapter 9, God sends Gabriel to answer Daniel's prayer for forgiveness by saying that 77s must pass to pay for transgressions. Daniel sees a man dressed in linen over a river. Everyone flees but Daniel, and Daniel feels weak. The man gives Daniel strength. The angel says there will be 4 kings of Persia. There will be wars and marriages between the kings of the south and of the north. The northern king will desecrate the temple and meet his end between the sea and the mountain. Daniel looks up and sees 2 more figures on opposite sides of the river. The man in linen will say it'll be time, times, and half a time before this happens.